My name is Mike Ward. I'm the Global Director of Content at Informa Pharma Insights, and I'm here at the Bio Europe meeting, and I'm joined today by Anthony Walker, who's a Managing Partner at Alacrita, which is a consulting firm looking at supporting the life sciences industry. And we're going to talk about, essentially what's wrong with risk-adjusted net present value. So, that's the opening question. What is actually the problem?
Well, it's a very essential tool that's used as a standard in the biopharmaceutical industry in terms of valuing assets, negotiating deals, and so on and so forth. But the key issue is that the traditional method produces a single answer, a risk-adjusted net present value. And that's based on a range of assumptions. The earlier the project is, the greater the uncertainty is over those assumptions. And if you think about it, expressing the answer as one single number is inappropriate because you're dealing with a vast range of scenarios depending on exactly where you are in those ranges of assumptions. So we believe there's a method that you can use to take all of those sensitivities into account and to express the risk-adjusted net present value not as a single number, but as a range and a probability distribution.
Right. Now, how does that help in sort of negotiation around price? Because the buyer and the seller are probably, there's a disconnect between what they think something's worth.
Absolutely right. I mean, typically a buyer will be at the lower end of the value range and the seller will be at the higher end. And that's normal, and there's a negotiation process. One of the features of the methodology that we use, which is Monte Carlo simulation, is not only do you get this range of valuations and a probability distribution, but you also get a list of all of the assumptions that you've put in descending order of the impact on that range. So you can see which parameter, which assumption has the greatest impact on the variability of the value. Right. Now, in terms of a negotiation, what it means is you might well be able to give ground on those assumptions that have little impact on the valuation and focus on the ones which have a major impact. That's one of the uses of this approach. Another use is that it can focus additional research on the key assumptions that have the greatest impact, so that you can narrow their range and reduce the uncertainty in your valuation.
Right, okay, so it's literally sort of seeing, right, okay, so this area has the biggest impact, but if we were able to fine-tune it, it would make it easier. So does that mean that then narrows the spread?
It can do. If the uncertainty is something that can be addressed by a bit of research, market research, key opinion leader research, whatever it happens to be, then yes. Sometimes if you're dealing with very early stage projects, the uncertainties are the uncertainties and there's nothing you can do. But it's still good to know what the model is actually sensitive to, so you know what to look out for as you develop the product.
So presumably under that system, you can end up with things where actually there is no value.
Or negative value. And in fact, the distribution often goes from a very high positive number to $1 billion with maybe an average of, I don't know, $500 million, but the negative could be below zero.
Right.
And it's essential to know what percentage of the scenarios are you below the waterline.
Yeah. Because
if that's an appreciable number, this may well be a value-destroying product.
Yes, right. So have you actually road tested this methodology?
Yes, we do this with clients. This is the methodology that we use when we work with clients.
And how has that helped when you compare your approach to the sort of what is historically been an industry standard?
It's very compatible with the industry standard. We can still get the same number as the industry standard, but we can then put a range around that number. And so it helps clients, whether buyers or sellers, to understand where the other side is coming from, what they're looking at, and all of those sorts of things. It is a very useful analytical adjunct, an extension, very, very powerful extension to the traditional method.
Right. And is there a bias? Is it something that the buyers are going to want, or is it something that sellers are going to want?
I think it's equally useful both ways, to be honest. Equally useful both ways.
Right. Okay. Great. Anthony, thanks very much for popping by and talking to us about it.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you
very much.
Cheers.